How many people here have heard of the Kolorado experiment? In 1973, the exercise physiology department of Fort College University conducted an experiment with a number of individuals, the most famous of which is Kejsijem Theater. The nature of the experiment was intended to find out how rapidly individuals could gain muscle in a high-intensity training program. And what they did was, well, since Kejsijem was the most famous, we'll talk about Kejsijem, and also because his results were the most outstanding. We'll talk about how much muscle he gained in 28 days on a high-intensity training program. On May 1st, 1973, Kejsijem weighed 166 pounds. I'm not trying to mislead you. This was an underweight condition for Kejsijem. When he won the Mr. America, he weighed around 212 or 215. So he was underweight to begin with. In 4 weeks, training 30 minutes a day, 3 days a week, May 29, 1973, same month, same year, Kejsijem weighed 212 pounds. In 1 month, exactly 28 days, Kejsijem gained what demonstrably seems to be 46 pounds. Now, you don't know if that's 46 pounds of muscle, 46 pounds of fat, or a combination of fat and muscle. But the exercise physiology department conducted a very sophisticated body fat test called the radioisotope assay test, which showed that Kejsijem lost 17 pounds of body fat during that 28-day period. So we know all the weight that he gained was pure muscle tissue. And it wasn't 46 pounds. Since Kejsijem also lost 17 pounds of fat at the same time, he actually gained 63 pounds of muscle. But again, this was muscle that he had previously held, and all bodybuilders know it's easier to get bigger the second time around. Once you lose mass, it's easier to regain it the second time. The problem is the acquisition of new muscle mass. But it's still an incredible achievement. He was gaining more than 2 pounds of muscle a day. I talked to people who were present at the experiment, and they said you could literally see Kejsijem grow before your very eyes, growing like a weed. Again, how did he do it? He averaged 30 minutes of training 3 days a week. That comes out to a total of an hour and a half of training a week. Times 4 weeks, at 6 hours of training. It took Kejsijem 6 hours of training to stimulate 63 pounds of muscle growth. An unbelievable achievement, incredible. Whether it was new mass, old mass, whatever, it's still an incredible achievement. What I want to do is contrast that with something our friend Mr. Schwarzenegger did. You may recall in July 1975, he finished making the movie Stay Hungry and began his training for his last deserved Mr. Olympia win in 1975 at a body weight of 210. He was also underweight. For the movie Stay Hungry, he was forced to reduce his body weight, and he looked rather emaciated at 210. As a matter of fact, I was in Gold's Gym that day, a very naive young Mike Menster seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger. He did his first workout for his last deserved Mr. Olympia title, which he won in November 1975. 4 months later, he claims he weighed 225 pounds when he won that last contest. Although there were people who were present, John Balick and Albert Busek claimed he only weighed 218. But we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Arnold gained 15 pounds, at least, of muscle in this 4-month period. This was not a sophisticated study, as was this one. So we don't know if Arnold lost any fat during this period. Probably he did. So we don't know. It wasn't that controlled of a study. But we know he gained at least 15 pounds of muscle. How did he do it? Well, he's gone on record several times, he even boasts about it, that he trained 4 hours a day, 6 days a week, for 4 months. And if you're real fast with your arithmetic, you'll find out that comes out to a total of 288 hours spent in the gym. It took Arnold 288 hours in the gym to stimulate 15 pounds of muscular growth. And he was not successful in regaining all the mass he had previously held, because in 1974, his best Mr. Olympia condition, I feel, where he weighed 237, he was just awesomely huge. It was his heaviest ever Mr. Olympia. And I even asked Arnold a couple years ago, why were you so light in South Africa? Why did you not go back up to 237? He said, I simply didn't have the time. He had 4 months. He had 4 months to gain back 27 pounds. He did not succeed. Kejsijem gained 63 pounds in 1 month. How do you account for the discrepancy or the disparity in achievement? All we have to go on, according to this, is the amount of time they spent training. That's the only variable we can compare. I do know this, however. Arnold has gone on record as saying he did take steroids. And according to Kejsijem, according to Dr. Elliott Please, who conducted the Kolorado experiment, Kejsijem the Ader definitely was not on steroids. That's hard to believe, but it's on record. Arnold is on record as saying he did take steroids for that Mr. Olympia. That variable is different. But the only other variable we have to go on is this. 6 hours versus 288 hours. And the other explanation? They were both underweight to begin with. And it's true that Kejsijem was even more underweight, so he had the opportunity to gain more weight back. But at least Kejsijem was successful in gaining back all the weight he had previously held. Arnold had 4 times as much time, but still could not regain all the mass he had previously held. He had 4 months to do it. Kejsijem had 1 month to do it. So actually, Kejsijem's task was harder. Arnold had 4 months to gain back 27 pounds and could not do it. Kejsijem had 1 month to gain back 63 pounds. That's the weight he weighed in Mr. America, and he succeeded in doing it. And Arnold couldn't do it. Why couldn't he do it? What's the answer? What's the answer you think I'm looking for? Right. There are 2 factors. Arnold trained so long, he overtrained so much, he could not train with the intensity required to stimulate that much muscular growth. And even if he did train with the intensity required, he didn't allow enough time to recover and allow that growth to manifest itself.
It has been claimed by some that a positive calorie balance is not necessary to build new lean mass while on a bodybuilding program. They say that the body can literally steal calories from fat and shunt them to the muscles for growth. In fact, this is exactly what Artur Džouns alleged occurred when Kejsijem the Ader gained 62 pounds of lean muscle mass during the 1-month Kolorado experiment described in my heavy-duty book number 1. He postulated that the number of calories Kejsijem consumed that month weren't sufficient to account for all of the weight gained. Kejsijem was not on a weight loss or maintenance diet. According to observers of the experiment, Džouns literally force-fed Kejsijem everything he could shove down his throat, including the kitchen sink. It was calculated that Kejsijem was fed only enough calories to account for 45 pounds of lean muscle mass increase. Therefore, that 17 pounds of Kejsijem's fat was sacrificed somehow to build muscle. As a parenthetic note here, using a sophisticated radioisotope assay test, the researchers involved with the Kolorado experiment ascertained that despite Kejsijem's registering 45 pounds of weight gained on the scale, he had also lost 17 pounds of fat that month. Therefore, his total lean mass gain was 62 pounds. While there may be some truth to this claim, I am skeptical. I suspect that either Džouns's calculations were skewed and/or he really believed Kejsijem wasn't on steroids at the time, which he was. Steroids are extremely potent chemical agents which dramatically alter the body's biochemistry in many ways, 2 of them being that protein synthesis and glycogen water storage inside the muscle are greatly enhanced. So, while stolen calories may account for some of the lean muscle mass, I believe that the steroids help too.